Good morning and happy Wednesday. This is Mike Dutter with the National Weather Service in Wakefield, and I just wanted to give you an update on the potential for another winter storm coming this weekend to parts of, or if not all of the area. I know a lot of you are recovering from this past weekend storm, but this storm will be has the potential to bring significant impacts to the area. This storm will be a strong system regardless. It's going to be a developing nor'easter off the Mid Atlantic coast later Saturday into Sunday, and it is expected to intensify. But the key to how much snow or if places get snow is where the eventual track occurs. Now, the area will be cold going into this, so the precipitation type will not be an issue like it was last weekend. Mainly, it was either going to be snow or it's not going to snow. There's not really any chances for ice or freezing rain or anything like that compared to last week's storm. Maybe if the storm tracks west enough, there could be a little rain right along the coast. But again, that's still really dependent on the track. But regardless, even though we have lots of unknowns with regards to the storm track and how much wintry weather occurs, how much snow occurs um, Saturday into Sunday. This storm is still going to be strong, and so it's going to be rapidly intensifying low pressure, and so coastal areas are, in the coastal waters are going to have concerns, especially with potential high end gale or storm force conditions as well as potential tidal flooding. And that tidal flooding could have, you could see that water that does occur with the tidal flooding freeze and to road surfaces and things like that. So let's go ahead and get into the briefing here. So I wanted to first show you quickly the weather pattern and outlook for the next few days into the weekend. I noticed that generally high pressure over the area for today, Thursday, and Friday. There's some small chances for light snow this evening and overnight across the northern neck and eastern shore. There's this weak little clipper system that is over the Great Lakes now that was going to move past quickly to the north of the area. Again, any impacts from that will be very minimal, maybe a dusting of snow in places. But again, the main highlight for the next few days is cold temperatures. Additional cold weather advisories are going to be likely tonight and maybe even again tomorrow night, and maybe even into the weekend as well. Very cold temperatures. And once we get into the weekend, notice the storm system developing off the southeast coast and rapidly intensifying into a nor'easter by Sunday. And again, the track of that low is going to be so critical. So let's quickly look at the temperatures for the next few days, as well as the probability of the precipitation. Just give you an overview. Notice the highlights of this is the cold, very, very cold temperatures, really right through the weekend. And notice that on Saturday and Sunday, all of these temperatures are going to be at or most likely well below freezing. And these lows are just, again, very, very cold temperatures, temperatures in the teens, maybe even single digits, some for the next few days and into late this weekend into early next week. Regardless, everyone is going to see below normal temperatures and below freezing temperatures for at least during the nighttime uh, for the next 4 or 5 days. Maybe once you get into uh, Monday into Tuesday, we might see temperatures widespread get above freezing, still below normal, but at least above freezing, so we can start melting some of this ice and potentially snow. But that will take a while because it is going to be so cold. Here are the tonight's wind chill readings, that we're expecting, and notice that everybody is going to be below 10 degrees above zero uh, with regards to the wind chill. Some places close to zero, or maybe even slightly below zero, especially up in on the eastern shore. So again, another very cold night, and we're expecting cold weather advisories across most of the area, if not all of the area, again tonight. And again, notice this is the outlook for next week. Just notice that we have continue below normal temperatures, but again, there are some signs that we might start seeing a little bit of a warm up towards next week, and especially into the middle to the end of next week. So stay tuned. But it is, this snow that's on the ground now for those who have it, and the snow to come, it's going to be around for a little while because it's going to take some time to melt this snow, especially with these extremely cold temperatures this week. And again, just to reiterate from this past weekend storm, there still is significant ice hazards, both on the water where lakes and rivers and ponds are starting to freeze up, but they are not. The ice is not thick enough to support anything, pets, people, certainly cars or anything like that. It is still not safe anywhere. And so, if there is ice, I would avoid it avoid ice on rivers and ponds. Do not go on it. And even on surfaces, there is a lot of surfaces, sidewalks, even roads that have become pure ice over the past few days, um, with this past winter storm we had over the weekend. And so again, very dangerous conditions everywhere with regards to the ice. Again, try to avoid it if at all possible. So now let's get into this weekend storm. There's still a lot of unknowns with this weekend storm, with regards to especially the track, and the track is going to be very important. Just 100-mile difference in the track is going to mean a world of difference with regards to snow amounts in some areas. Um, right now, at least the probability of moderate impacts, the highest probabilities of those up to 60, 70% are across Southeast Virginia into Northeast North Carolina. But notice that we still have 30 to 40% probabilities extending clear up into the Richmond metro. Again, we just don't know the exact track of that storm, and 100 miles or so is going to make a huge difference. If it stays further offshore, Richmond probably won't see that much snow. Any snow is going to impact the much of the area simply due to the last weekend storm, but Richmond may see less snow, and the highest snow totals would be closer to the coast. If the storm tracks closer to the coast, and that would bring parts of interior, central Virginia to see potentially heavier snow, moderate impacts from snow, and perhaps the coast would see maybe a little less impacts in that scenario potentially. Regardless, everyone needs to be prepared for a potential winter storm this weekend. There's still, again, lots of unknowns, even though right now the greatest potential is over the southeast Virginia and northeast North Carolina. And also, regardless of where this storm or how this storm tracks, there are going to be strong winds right along the coast. And if there is heavier snow at the coast, that could mean at least the potential for near blizzard or blizzard conditions, especially Saturday night into Sunday. So we need to keep a very, very close eye on this storm. And one thing I wanted to bring up here and show really quick is the actual some of the low tracks of this storm and how it could potentially evolve over the next few days. So let me go ahead and bring that up here right now. And as I do that, there we go. So notice this is on the left is the European model, and on the right is a GFS model. And notice how both of them have snow coming in Saturday morning. And the key difference, though, is that the European, this is by Saturday evening, that most of the area still at least has some snow. But notice the European has this flow a little bit further offshore, a little further south compared to the GFS model. Again, not a lot, maybe 50 to 100 miles, but it means the world of difference between this heavier snow getting into central Virginia while the heavier snow perhaps staying closer to the coast um, with this European solution. So again, there still is a lot uncertainty. Again, this difference in track is only in position is not that much, maybe 200 miles, but it's going to mean a world of difference with regards to impacts from the snow across the area. So, and this just still is not something we know at this time. So let me go back to my slides here. So that's why we're going to dive into some of the probabilities of snow. So that which we combine all the models we together, and we have hundreds of them, 100 of them or more, to try to give you an idea of the probabilities of snow. And this is the probability of at least 3 inches of snow. Again, we're really highlighting the areas in Southeast Virginia, Northeast North Carolina right now, with 60, maybe even 70% probabilities in that region. But again, in Central Virginia, especially the Richmond Metro and even points north, there is still a 30 to 40% probability and 1 in 3 chance that you see at least 3 inches of snow. So again, we cannot rule out any scenarios right now with regards to snow, even though we are expecting right now the best probability, the best chances of seeing, 3 inches of snow across, again, the southeast and Virginia into northeast North Carolina. However, if you go to the probability of at least 6 and 8 inches of snow, again, it's sort of the same idea. We have the highest probabilities across the southeast, but there are still, a 1 in 5 chance, 1 in 5, 20% chance of 6 inches, and close to that for 8 inches of snow in the Richmond metro. So we can't let our guard down. There are still plenty of solutions that would suggest snow further inland, even though the best probabilities are at the coast because of the storm track from the various models. So again, so this is something we have to all keep our eye out for. We have to keep a close eye on it for the next couple of days because really all scenarios are still on the table with regards to snow across the area. And again, I wanted to hit this point home again with regards to the winds, especially right at the coast. It's going to be breezy everywhere Saturday night into Sunday, but especially at the coast, we could see gusts to 40, 50, maybe even 55 miles an hour along the immediate coastline, Virginia Beach, Corolla, Cape Charles, and so that would mean if there was heavy snow, that would mean more likely than not blizzard conditions would occur if there was heavy snow in that area. So that's something we need to keep a very close eye on, combined with the significant wind chills. I mean, these are wind chills of close to zero during a potential snowstorm. So it could potentially be very dangerous for people. So again, we need to keep a very close eye on this storm, as I mentioned several times. So we're in this stage here with the winter storm planning. Again, we've already planned for a storm over the past weekend. Unfortunately, we need to plan again. A lot of us might have this stuff ready already, but we need to have those emergency supplies for home and car. Make sure to have plenty of food. Put fuel back in your car when you can. Just be ready, in case we do get a winter storm and heavy snow. Again, with those winds, I would be a little concerned about power outages, especially right at the coast as well. So, have be prepared for that as well. So now let's go ahead and get into the marine aspect of this storm. Again, this is maybe a little bit. We're a little more confident of this occurring. At least very strong gales, high-end gales, and again potentially storm force winds. That is a little bit track dependent, but nonetheless, right now we are already forecasting sustained winds up to 40 knots and gusts to 45 to 50 knots across all of the waters right now, and that could start as early as Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, but especially Saturday night into Sunday morning is sort of where the worst conditions are going to be, and the timing of that's going to be. And here are the probability of storm force gusts. And again, those highest probabilities are offshore at 40 to 60%. So we are expecting right now that there are going to be some storm force gusts over the open, at least the coastal waters. However, we cannot rule out storm force gusts, especially in the lower bay, but really over the entire bay. There's a 20 to 40% probability of storm force gusts as well. And especially if I was in the lower bay, I would be uh, concerned about some storm force gusts Saturday night into Sunday. And these storm force gusts, I mean, the storm is going to be moving, but it's not going to be moving terribly fast. So the duration could be 12 hours or more, starting late Saturday evening and continuing through Sunday morning. So it could be a fairly long duration of probability of storm force gusts. Here's the overview for the next few days into Saturday evening. Again, we're just sort of at the beginning stages of the storm at that point, but notice by Saturday evening, we already have gusts well into gale force conditions across pretty much all of the waters at that point. And our graphic on the left-hand side shows the peak wind through 7 p.m. Saturday. Again, much of the area has 35 to 40, maybe even 40 to 45 knot gusts over the open coastal waters there, and those are just going to continue to increase Saturday evening. And this is just to show you the marine wind and wave potential for the next 5 days. Really keying in on the weekend. Uh, Continued small craft for the area pretty much through the week, but again, really highlighting that late Saturday into Sunday time period for significant wind and waves, as I've mentioned. A little bit more detail for various areas here, but again, notice that pretty much everywhere is going to see close to or high-end gales at least, or into storm force, especially once you get over the coastal waters. Again, the bay is a little bit trickier and a little bit more dependent on the track, but regardless, a very significant marine wind event is expected with this nor'easter late Saturday into Sunday. And that's all I have. Thank you so much for listening. And again, we'll be having another live briefing tomorrow at Thursday at 11 a.m. Thank you.